My name is Helen Symington, and I am the sales executive for OpenFifth. And what's on my mind is anonymisation and pseudonymisation. I delivered a webinar on managing data protection in Koha on Tuesday, the 13th of May, and will be delivering another webinar on GDPR processes on Thursday, the 19th of June. In my webinar, I gave a brief overview of anonymisation and pseudonymisation of data in Koha, but it got me thinking and wondering, what is the difference between the two? Which libraries should use and when should they use them? I'm not going to go back through all of the ins and outs of data protection. You can watch my webinar for that. But put very simply, data protection is the broad concept of safeguarding information and privacy through practices, policies, and measures designed to ensure data security, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. As data processors, libraries are ultimately responsible for the data they hold and process, in the same way that as a company, OpenFifth is responsible for the data that we process. It is for each library to decide what information they collect from their users. For the information on their users that they do collect, they have the ability to anonymize and pseudonymize it. These are great tools to use when a library wants to process information for stats about usage, for example, but they don't want to unnecessarily process the personal information of their users, and they don't want to retain that personal information for longer than they need to. We recommend that libraries use a combination of both anonymisation and pseudonymisation as part of their security and data protection practices. In your Koha system settings, you can use the Anonymise Patron preference to remove borrower numbers from circulation history. Before setting this preference, create a patron to be used for all anonymous suggestions and/or reading history. You can see here in the preference, it is asking which borrower number to use for the anonymous patron. This patron can be any type and should be named something to make it clear to you that they're anonymous. If I go to the patrons in our demo site, and if I search for anon, you can see that Koha is suggesting we have two anonymous users. We have anon and we have anonymous user. If I go into that record, remember that it's the borrower number that you want to use, not the card number. In the manual, the batch anonymized PL cron job removes borrower numbers from circulation history so that the stats are kept, but the patron information is removed for privacy reasons. A cron job is a Linux command for scheduling a command or script on your server to complete repetitive tasks automatically. Unfortunately, I don't have access to the servers to show you that, but I'm assured that we're not missing much by not seeing it. You or your lovely support supplier can schedule this script to run automatically on a regular basis. You can also manually anonymize circulation history by using the batch patron deletion and anonymization tool. So if I go back to the staff interface on Koha, and if I go to tools, and then batch patron deletion and anonymization, you fill in the information and follow the steps of the tool. We do recommend that you run a report on the patrons you want to anonymize before using this tool. Anonymization is quite a blunt tool, and you may find that you cannot drill down to all the specific statistics you want to look at when your data is fully anonymized. There may be times when you want a little more finesse, so pseudonymization might suit you better. Back to the Koha manual, and if we look at pseudonymization patron fields, and pseudonymization transaction fields, pseudonymizing patron data allows libraries to keep useful transaction information for reporting while shortening the time they retain personal data in other Koha tables. When pseudonymization is enabled, patrons and transactions will be copied to a separate table from the usual database tables, for example, the issues and statistics tables. Entries are added for each new transaction, so check out, check in, renew, etc., but not retrospective transactions. However, from version 2405, there is bug 34611. Add a script for pseudonymizing existing data that will pseudonymize retrospective transactions if you run it. When you pseudonymize your data, no direct identifiers for the patron are recorded. The pseudonymized transaction table uses an encrypted version of the borrower number. Data from fields selected in pseudonymized patron fields and pseudonymization transaction fields is recorded in the pseudonymized transactions and pseudonymized borrower attributes table. In the staff interface, in Koha administration, I'm going to search for pseudonymization. And you can see that there are three system preferences. Pseudonymization is disabled by default. By default, none of the pseudonymization patron field values are selected. If you do want to record certain patron fields, after enabling the pseudonymization system preference, edit the patron attributes table you want to record in the pseudonymized borrower attributes table by marking those attributes as keep for pseudonymization. The attributes you can choose to keep are city, country, date, etc. And you can see that we have selected 3 of them in our demo site. Equally, for pseudonymization transaction field values, the default is for none to be selected, but you can choose to keep collection, date and time of the transaction, holding library, etc. Do be aware, though, that if you keep everything or too many things, there is a risk that a user can be re-identified, which does defeat the point of using pseudonymization. Values in the pseudonymization tables are recorded as they are at the time of the transaction. These tables are not affected by the deletion of patrons or items. I hope this has been useful, and please do have a look at our other What's on Our Mind videos and webinars. Thank you very much.